What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and I'm your host, the Bearded One. I'm talking about a bottom tier story from a bottom tier reader today. This is a story you can find mostly in dollar bins. There's one or two books that are kind of key these days, so you might have to pay $5 or $10 for the key books, but nothing is too major key. This is all minor stuff, a minor storyline from a time gone by in the 90s. But it's a story I've always wanted to read, being such a big Wolverine fan. I don't feel like I talk about much Marvel here on the channel, and that is partially intentional, partially unintentional. I'm a DC fanboy, but that doesn't mean I can't love Marvel, and one of my favorite things I love about Marvel is, of course, Wolverine and the mutants, right? I would say a good 25 to 30% of my collection, which includes, 3 to 6 issues short of Lobo's entire appearance history, is Wolverine. So a good chunk of my collection, which is nearing 2,000 comic books. I'm above 1,800. I can't remember if I passed 1,900 books yet, but yeah, a good 25-30% of it is Wolverine. So I need to talk about Wolverine. I need to talk about Logan from time to time. And today we're covering Fatal Attractions, most notably Wolverine 75. But I wanted to show X-Men 25 because I often see Wolverine 75 being quoted as the book Wolverine, or Wolverine's loses his adamantium skeleton. Well, that's not the case. In Wolverine 75, he just realizes his adamantium is taken out of his skeleton. And we'll get into Wolverine 75 a little further in the video. I want to catch people up on this since this is all tying into a greater story. It is actually X-Men 25 that Wolverine loses his adamantium skeleton. So I've been reading Fatal Attractions this morning. I want to shout out SEM Comics. He's been backing me up on the story. If you're into content like Comic Storian or Comics Explained, channels like that, where you get a lot of production and then voiceovers to, that narrate the story, a lot better than what I do. SEM Comics, Sim Comics, falls into that category. And he's got a Fatal Attractions playlist. I'm going to finish it out after I finish this video, maybe do some chores, but great stuff. So go over to SEM Comics and watch his Fatal Attractions video, and then you can come back here, or you can watch SEM Comics after this video. So just the skivvy of it, the short and skivvy of it. Wolverine's had enough of our shit, right? He's tired of the humans once and for all. He's tired of Charles Xavier. He's gone Super Saiyan. He started Planet M, and he's using Exodus, who's an Omega level unit, and the Acolytes to put it lightly, or not to put it lightly, fuck shit up. They destroy. I mean, when I watched Sim Comics breakdown of, I think X Factor is the first issue. Oh my God, it was kind of brutal. There's a scene where one of the Acolytes puts his thumbs through the eyeballs of one of the X Factor members, and I was just like, this is awesome. This is my kind of story. And I love stories where Magneto just goes off. That's what I love about X-Men 1. And just to give some more context, if you read X-Men 1 from this series, not the Uncanny X-Men, the giant Chris Claremont Jim Lee issue, the most sold comic book of all time, now for a while now in the 90s, Magneto's been trying to start his utopia, his new world order. And Fatal Attraction seems to be the point where it's all coming together, where, again, like I said, Magneto's had enough of our shit. And so the Acolytes, to get back to the story, the Acolytes and Exodus are just going through X Factor, X Force, Uncanny X-Men, just screwing shit up, taking everybody out, and they're picking and choosing who they want to come to Planet M to be with Magneto and start their mutant utopia to finally be free of mankind. And then by the time we get to X-Men, Charles Xavier is like, we can't do this. We got to stop Magneto. He's killing too many people. There's even an attack. I think it's in X-Men. There's even a massive attack where Magneto retaliates against the humans and causes this huge explosion on Earth. When I was reading it, I felt the magnitude of the explosion. That's one thing I love about these 90s comics. I feel the magnitude of the story, the magnitude of the battle scenes. And I don't want to explain X-Men 25 all the way through. I want you to read it. But essentially, the X-Men group with Charles Xavier go to Planet M, infiltrate the base, and screw up the communications and make life hard for the new acolytes and Magneto. And in the middle of this battle, Pietro and Magneto go at it. Pietro is angry at his father for how he's become. Magneto, seeing the betrayal of his son in his maddened rage, attempts to kill Pietro, and that's when Wolverine steps in. Spoiler. I mean, we all know the issue. I've just mentioned it earlier. What makes this book a key. Wolverine steps in and starts to fight Magneto to get him off of Pietro. And Magneto then rips the adamantium skeleton from Wolverine's body. It's pretty gruesome. Not a lot of blood and guts type gruesome. It's just gruesome at the thought of that happening. So it's in X-Men 25 where that takes place, not Wolverine 75. And that should get you caught up to Wolverine 75, which is what I want to talk about today in this review. This issue is just a big character piece. There are action scenes, but not action in the sense of wham, pow, fight scenes. On the X-Men's team's escape from the base, I don't want to... That's already spoiling a lot of X-Men 25. But, I have to talk about this issue. It's an issue after X-Men 25. On their way back to Earth from the base, their ship, the Blackbird, is severely damaged. One of the wings is going down. And so a lot of the action is Bishop and Rogue and Gambit trying to safely pilot the plane back to Earth. And during this, we also, the other side of the book, not literally the other side of the book, just the other part of the story in the book, Wolverine is dying. And the trauma, the physical damage done to his body is worsening faster than Wolverine's healing rate. So there's even a scene where we see Wolverine's hand, like there's wounds on his hands closing, but then they open back up because Wolverine's healing factor just can't keep up with the damage that was done to his body in his fight with Magneto. And so we got Jean Grey and Charles Xavier go into his mind. They think if we can heal some of this mental stress and trauma, it can help his body be more effective and heal. And they get to a point in Wolverine's mind where Jean Grey's like, we're now heading into the area where Wolverine, some of the traumatic memories in Wolverine's mind where Wolverine doesn't like to share this stuff. This is really invasive. We need to back away because these are Wolverine's secrets, not ours, pretty much. And so they get out of his mind, that they're respectful of that. And Jean Grey has to split off to telekinetically keep the Blackbird together, and to help them guide in because the situation's getting worse on the ship. And Xavier crawls back into Wolverine's mind to again try to relieve stress, but he goes a different way. He doesn't go into those traumatic secrets Wolverine keeps from people. He goes another way, and he finds where Wolverine's soul is. It's the best way to describe it. And Wolverine's soul is going towards the light. and it's a really powerful, emotional moment. It's very deep, very good writing. I forget who wrote this. I know Andy Kubert did. Maybe Scott Lobdell wrote it, but I know Andy Kubert did the art. Yeah. Charles Xavier finds Wolverine's soul, and he's going towards the light, and he's grabbing onto Wolverine like, Logan, don't you know that means death? And it pulled at my heartstrings. Wolverine looks back at Charles with tears in his eyes, and he says, don't you think I already know that? And that's where kind of Charles pulls out of his mind. But even though Charles is pulled out of his mind, we're still taken back into Wolverine's mind, where Wolverine is talking to Illyana, the dead mutant girl whose funeral they were all supposed to go to earlier in Fatal Attractions. I guess Magneto killed Illyana. I don't know much about Illyana, other than she's the dead mutant girl they were supposed to have a funeral for in Fatal Attractions. Wolverine's talking to her. He's talking to her. He sees her spirit in the light, and he's like, "Take me home. I want to go home now. I want to be with the pretty voices that are singing. Everybody I love is up here. You know, my time's done." And something happens to the ship. The situation's worsened. I think they hit something, and it breaks Jean Grey's. It breaks Jean Grey's connection to the ship that's holding it together, and the hatch blows open, and people start getting sucked out of the ship, and we're taken back into Wolverine's mind. And the sweetest moment. Like, if I had read this in real time when it was coming off the shelves, I would have cried. I would have shed a tear. But knowing what I know now, 30-something years later, Wolverine's still here. Read X-Force and Wolverine, the Benjamin Percy runs that maybe have just ended, or maybe they're still going on. There's a lot of payoff from this type of storytelling back in the 90s. Ship's falling apart, people are getting sucked out, and Wolverine is reaching towards the light, and then says, "Wait, it's not my time. I don't want to go yet." He feels like he can sense something's wrong with Jean, and he asks for Jean to reach out and hold and grab him and bring him back to life. And Jean reaches out and grabs him mentally, because we're still in his mind in this scene. And once she grabs and holds his hand, he comes back to life. And they have the sweetest moment where she says, Jean was like, "You almost died. You were dead. Your vital signs in the Medi unit we had you in had flatlined. You were done." And she just kind of she kind of says, after some dialogue, "You came back for me." And then Wolverine says, "No, it was you who saved me from death." And it's just this sweet emotional moment. It's why scenes like that are why I hate Scott Summers. I hate Cyclops. He's a douche. He's a square. He's boring. He's got lasers for eyes, and that's cool. Like, that's all Cyclops has. Like, he doesn't have. You can't beat Logan and Jean. Like, I'm such a fan of them. I hate to use this Gen Z term, but I ship them so hard. So hard. After that emotional moment, somehow the plane lands. We don't see how the plane lands, but we assume it lands, and then it kind of jumps time to 2 weeks later. We see Wolverine needing to prove himself once again without his adamantium claws. He goes into that chamber where they fight the holographic robots or whatever. And Wolverine kind of gets his butt kicked and kind of realizes he ain't got it no more. Without his healing factor and without his adamantium skeleton, he's not worth it in a fight anymore. And the X-Men are all feeling sorry for him. And Logan don't do that stuff. And then we're also jumped again to a scene where a scene where Jubilee, I was blanking, Jubilee and Logan are just chilling, resting, relaxing at a pond right outside the school, and Jubilee's just kind of confiding in Logan, talking about how her parents died, and having just a heart to heart with Logan, and he just kind of being typical Logan about it, kind of being sarcastic yet caring at the same time, where you don't really know if Wolverine's being insensitive or not, because Wolverine's kind of emotionally detached from the world. He's seen a lot, he's a battered, bruised character, and even though he comes across as a typical one-note action hero, Wolverine, there's a lot of complexity to him, and I appreciate that about Wolverine. I really like the deeper character moments with Wolverine, and they have the heart to heart. Then Wolverine's trying to convince Jubilee that she's going to be okay, that she needs to stay at the school and stay with Charles Xavier, and he's going to help her. And he said, he talks good about Charles. Oh, he's a good guy. He done right by me, is what he tells Jubilee. And then at the end, the book ends out with Wolverine. We're getting snapshots of Wolverine getting on his motorcycle and leaving the school and starting a new life, quitting the X-Men. And in these snapshots are bits and pieces of a letter he's writing to Jubilee. Not Jean Grey, of all people, but to Jubilee, about how she's so strong. She's an incredible person. She's gonna find her happiness, and so on and so forth. You need to read this issue. It's such a beautiful letter. I won't say it was the most poetic letter, but it was so sweet and beautiful to Jubilee. And in the middle of all this action and very 90s, storytelling, and if this was an indie comic book, there would be blood and guts for sure. There's a pretty brutal scene with Cable. Magneto lets Cable have it. In the midst of all this, there's these sweet moments with Jean Grey and Jubilee, and it just shows how dynamic of a character Wolverine really is, how complex he really is, and this Wolverine 75 got to be one of my favorite issues of all time. And I'm glad I read it. It's a book I've been wanting to read for a long time. It's why I chose this for the review today. I got this stupid, dumb smile on my face because I just enjoyed the character piece, the kind of break in the action. It didn't feel filler at all. It definitely had its purpose. Wolverine, definitely a key moment at the end. Wolverine leaving the X-Men, that's huge. And I love the issue. I loved the issue. If I were to give comic books ratings, which I don't do that anymore, I used to. If I was to rate this comic book, I'd give it a 12 out of the 10. Fantastic issue. Loved it. And I can't wait to, after I get my chores done. So happy wife, happy life, right? You guys feel me out there, you hubbies out there, you partners out there, you feel me. I'm gonna go back and finish up Fatal Attractions with SEM Comics again. Go check out SEM Comics, great content. He don't know me, I don't know him. I don't see him bouncing around the community, but that don't mean he can't be in the same community, the same pocket of the comic book community we're in. Great stuff. Wanted to shout him out. And I can't wait to finish out Fatal Attractions. This was a very good series. I really worried this was going to be full of 90s tropes, which it is full of 90s tropes. But I was worried it was going to be a lot of one-note stuff, not a lot of dynamic storytelling. And for the most part, it's a pretty complex story. It does talk about the same stuff they've been talking about for 20, 30 years between Xavier and Magneto and their philosophy. But what makes this arc special, it just seems like Xavier's finally reached, not to spoil too much, but Xavier's reached his breaking point in Fatal Attractions, and it's really good. It's really good. I encourage you not to just read Wolverine 75. Now, I will say X-Men 25 and Wolverine 75 is kind of a sub-arc within the greater Fatal Attractions story. But I would, so you could read those two issues and not miss anything. But I would encourage you to read all of Fatal Attractions and enjoy the story like I have. This will do me for now. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting on my content. I always appreciate it, guys. I've almost hit 100 subscribers. I don't have a giveaway planned. I'm sorry. I know it's a thing in the community to do giveaways. I have an extra. I bought 2 extra copies of 1 in 25 Lobo and Crush #1, and then I have an extra foil cover of Lobo and Crush #1. If maybe I could do a giveaway with that, but I didn't love Lobo and Crush enough for me to feel like that's worthy of a giveaway. But I love Lobo so much I could pass that on. I don't care that I paid $25 for that 1 in 25 variant. I'd be more than willing to give it away. If so much as one person shows any interest in this giveaway and comments about wanting me to do a giveaway, maybe I'll do a 100 subscriber giveaway. But I get nervous about doing a giveaway because once I do one giveaway, I'm gonna be expected to do more giveaways, and I just don't know if I have the books for that. I don't really have the comic book budget to be buying books for giveaways right now, so you just have to bear with me, guys. Maybe in the future when I can get the budget back right, when I can do a lot more things with the channel, maybe I can get to giveaways. But again, just want to say thanks for a lot of you guys out there. I'm not a sub fiend. I'm here for friends, not subs. But that doesn't mean I can't make more friends along the way. And making more friends means more subs. So no judgment to anybody out there doing giveaways and celebrating their subscriber count. I definitely am seeing a lot of growth in the community, and I love it. I'm meeting more people. I'm part of the growth. And I just appreciate it. I appreciate all of you, and it means a lot. And maybe we'll hit 100 subs here in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Who knows? But again, thank you for the support, and it means a lot. At the end of this video, which I'm fixing to turn it off now, I'll give you the master reading list. It's only 6 issues, but I'll give you the 6 books you need in order to read Fatal Attractions, so you can hunt them down, or you can pick up the trade, or whatever, just so you can keep track of the Fatal Attractions storyline. Until next time, guys.